our newest staff member, Alan Christie, who joined API as Senior Policy Analyst focused on tax and budget issues just 3 months ago. Alan has hit the ground running, and we are pleased to have him present today on the demographics of our immigrant neighbors and the many economic contributions that they provide. Alan?
Hello, welcome to everyone. I'd like to share some data about the immigrant population in Rhode Island. There's a little appetizer for today. So, immigrants, there's no single, obviously, image of immigrants, a large diverse population. Here we're using, I guess, the most expansive definition we have, which is basically anyone who is not born here, so it includes people who are naturalized, even someone, say, who's 100 years old now, came as a 1-year-old, and African immigrant, but also these other groups. Also other groups, lawful permanent residents, temporary immigrants, undocumented immigrants, humanitarian immigrants or refugees, and we also just recognize that the language around immigration can be very tricky in our day. Okay, so using that expansive definition, the total population of Rhode Island is a little over 1 million, so there are a little more than 141,000 people who are foreign born, and that makes up 13.4% of the population of Rhode Island. And you can see on the right side of the screen some of the countries where folks originally came from. And of these 141,000, a little more than half are naturalized citizens. In terms of the undocumented immigrants, there's somewhere between 25 and 30,000. The estimates vary, and just as sort of a caveat for everything today, that there are many sources for information, so you may see some numbers, you see numbers that have been different than that. There are different sources, sometimes even looking at the same set of data by applying different models or assumptions, you come up with different numbers. So you may, some numbers might not be as precise as you've seen other elsewhere. And sticking with this group again, the large group of all immigrants of over 140,000, so just over half are women, and divided into age groups, the largest age group you'll see is that middle group, ages 16 to 64, which is the working age population, so so it's not similar to the national numbers, have almost 80% in the working age population. And on the left side of the screen, you can see that in surveys of speaking English, respondents say people speak English well or very well, it's close to 3 and 4, and Rhode Island's slightly higher than the national average. Now, we've been worried for a while about the cases of, we have children who are citizens and they're living in households with at least one undocumented parent, and worried that people maybe were eligible for services, government services, are not taking advantage of that is a fear. And you see the last of these numbers here, 6% of children who are U.S. citizens living with at least one undocumented family member, and in Rhode Island, about 12,500 people. Recently, I think we've become even more worried with the public charge, but I'm sure our guest, keynote speaker will speak more to that question. In terms of the Dreamers, the DACA population, there, as of most recent data from about 2 months ago, there are close to 1,000 people living in Rhode Island who are in DACA, and a total of about 3,000 who were eligible or become eligible. Looking at the refugee population, what we have here is some information about where the refugees in Rhode Island come from. In the last 20 years, Rhode Island has welcomed about 3,000, more than 3,000 refugees to the state, the largest single group from Liberia. And the next slide The next slide shows the refugees coming to Rhode Island over time. And you can see there's sort of waves of immigration. So that first wave around 2004 is the Liberian population. That's when that was the peak of that refugee population. And then the second, and sort of in the middle around 2009, 2010, that's when we have sort of South Asian refugees from Bhutan and Burma coming to Rhode Island. And then from 2014 to 16, refugees from the Middle East and from Africa. So from Somalia, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Iraq and Syria make up a lot of the refugees for this most recent wave. Now, switching over to the economic contributions of immigrants to Rhode Island, it's an enormous contribution to our economy in terms of taxes. Immigrants to Rhode Island pay more than $1 billion a year in taxes, of federal and state and local taxes together, and the undocumented population more than $50 million in taxes, so certainly contributing to that. In terms of income, more than $4 billion a year among all foreign-born Rhode Island, and almost $500 million among the undocumented immigrants. And then when you take these numbers of the income and you subtract from that the taxes paid we saw on the previous slide, so you get what left with the spending power. And so more than $3 billion in spending power among immigrants in the immigrant population of Rhode Island. And on the right side, you see the figure of a little over $300 million. That's the net economic benefit of immigrants in Rhode Island. So that means when you take the, say, government services, the health care, police protection, other government services that immigrants use or benefit from, and then you look at how much that same population pays in taxes or pays for those services, it's a net economic benefit of $300 million per year. This is just to give you an illustration of some of the top professions or industries where immigrants from Rhode Island work, with computer systems, design-related services at the top of that. And then highlighting on the right, among the healthcare professions, almost 32% of healthcare aides in Rhode Island are immigrants. This is an increasingly important profession and area, especially as the population ages. Rhode Island has one of the oldest populations in the country. Also in terms of economic contributions, so immigrants hold more than $7 billion in housing wealth and pay hundreds of millions of dollars in rent. And so whether U.S. born immigrants who are living across the state and owning houses, renting, living with each other. And just finally, in terms of the group of temporary immigrants, we have the international students, or shout out to the international students. In addition to the obviously contributions they make to our university life, they also bring economic benefits to the state, including supporting more than 2,500 jobs. And that's about it. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of the program.